Hey class, this is your last video and I wanted to give you some homework hints on chapter 13. I did post one yesterday. I had a couple of students email me about that one problem, just getting started. Basically what you're doing in this one is you're looking at target cost and target price. So I'm just going to kind of go over each of your homework problems and give you some pointers, and then I'll talk a little bit about that last quiz. So your first homework problem, 1321, asks you to look, we're looking at target cost, effective process design changes on service cost. And so as we have all semester, we're talking about cost. And with cost, there's direct material, direct labor, and I'm just kind of telling you this as an overview. This will help you on the last quiz as well. There's manufacturing overhead. These are all product costs that go into the cost of the product, and then there's also period costs, which are operating, administrative, marketing, HR, etc. Okay, so just cost of whatever it is you're doing. If it's a product, if it's a service. I do tax returns, and I have a cost of every tax return I do. I have the filing fee. I have allocated the cost of my software to each tax return, and then I have my hourly rate. So it's just the cost, whatever it is that you're doing. So on this particular problem, the first thing they're asking you for is to calculate the cost per sale in 2016. And all of the information is there for you. They give you the average cost per new contact, for example, and then they give you the number of new contacts. So that's just a simple multiplication. And then they ask you to do the same thing for 2017, and again, it's average cost. Well, I'll look at travel cost per mile is 65 cents, and we drove 1,750 miles. So again, just calculation, just trying to figure out what our cost per sale was. And then they ask us, did SES achieve the target cost per sale in 2017? So what we're trying to figure out there, we have to go back and look at our problem. And it tells us in the paragraph, the second full paragraph, it says, after experiencing high cost in 2016, SES used value engineering to reduce the cost of selling solar heating systems. Managers at SES want to evaluate whether value engineering had succeeded in reducing the selling cost per sale by the targeted 8% in 2017. So what you're doing there is taking your cost for 2016 and seeing if you achieve the reduction that you were trying to achieve. So again, pretty straightforward. And then there's some questions to answer from a theoretical perspective. All right, the next homework problem you have is 1326. And this is a cost plus target pricing working backward. And so cost plus, some organizations you'll say, how do you set your selling price? And they'll say, well, I do cost plus 25%. Some will say I have target pricing, where we have the cost, we've got target pricing, and so we're saying, okay, we need the price to be this based on the market, so we've got to make sure that our cost is low enough to give us a profit. So the difference between the cost and the price is profit. So that's what we're, our goal all along. And so in this one, it asks us, one, find sales revenue. Remember, we're working backwards. So this is one of those problems. I know you don't like them. No students like these. But the reason they have these type problems and the reason we assign them is because this is beyond simple multiplication, and this is understanding the theory. And so it asks you to find sales revenue, first of all. So on this one, what I would do is set up basically a contribution margin income statement, and I think you're going to have to do this by unit, I believe. Yeah, I think we'll have to do it by unit based on the information that you are given. And then you've got number of units produced. And then you would have your total contribution margin. And again, I'm just kind of helping you guys get started on this. Less your fixed cost. And then that would give you your operating income. And so you are given a lot of this information up in the problem. And so what you're going to have to do is solve for this number right here by working backwards. You're going to put your operating income in, for example, $180,000. You're given your fixed cost. And so in this one, again, I love these problems because it's reinforcing the fact that you understand what an operating income statement looks like with a contribution margin calculation. Again, something that's really important to walk away with from this class. And then you've just got to play with the numbers in 2 and 3 and do some analysis in 4. So again, great problem. Number 28, this one is target service cost, value engineering, and activity-based costing. If you remember, we did activity-based costing, and that's where we have the activity cost pool, the activity driver, and the activity rate. So like my example that I was giving you on my CPA practice, my activity might be packaging the tax return. That's something that has to be done correctly and professionally. So I know what the cost is to do that. Say it's $500 and I have 50 tax returns, so the activity rate is $10. So every time I package a tax return, I'm going to allocate $10 to that tax return. So again, you're just identifying your activities, which in this one is given to you. You've got ticket sales. You've got operating attractions. And you have litter patrol. So those are the 3 activities for this particular organization. And they've given you the cost driver, the first one. So they've given you this right here, which is number of tickets sold. This one is number of runs, and this one is number of litter patrol hours. And then they've given you the rate per unit. So you have that information, and they've given you some numbers. These problems there's just lots of numbers, which is perfect because it's helping you understand how to take all the different numbers you're given in the real world in business and figure something out. So taking data and turning it into information. Okay, so it asks you first of all, will Lagoon achieve its target operating income of 35% of revenues? So again, just going back and writing down and understanding all of the data that you're given. And so what I would do on this one is I would start out with my weekly revenue. And then I would look at what my desired profit margin is. Okay, and so for weekly revenue, you're told in the problem 55,000 patrons per week, $33 per patron, but then it goes on to tell you down in the problem some more information about changes that they want to make. So again, it's just figuring out exactly which numbers you need. So they're looking at operating income of 35% of revenues at ticket price of $35 per ticket. So in this one, you would have that 55,000 times 35. That's the weekly revenue, and then they're looking for a 35% margin. So you can figure that out. Again, just simple calculations. And with that, they have targeted weekly cost. Now remember, up here, target pricing, price minus cost is profit. You've got to remember that formula. So they're looking for targeted weekly cost. And then they have their targeted cost per patron. So they're expecting 55,000 patrons. And then from there, you come down here to your weekly cost and you figure out. So for example, they told you $335 per ticket sold. They told you $90 per run. They told you $20 for the number of litter patrol hours. And then from that, you can get the cost per patron. And then from that, you can get your operating profit. And so again, just write it all down, get it in the right format. So I'll kind of help you. So you've got your 3 activities here. You'll want to go calculate those. And that will give you your total weekly cost once you calculate all that. And then you'll want to get your cost per patron. And remember, there's 55,000. And then you're going to come up with your operating profit. which your operating profit is simply your revenue that you've calculated. Your revenue that you've calculated up here minus your cost, which you have calculated right here, okay? And so then you can answer the questions that they're asking you in the problem. Then on number 32, I gave you some pointers on Canvas, and so I'm just going to go ahead and skip over that one. I think I gave you pretty good information to get you started on that one. You are figuring out your rates, and then you're doing your activity-based costing. When you get to number 3 on 1332, if you haven't already set it up in a format and you're working on it, I would suggest you set it up something like this. And then you're going to calculate for each one of the HTT and the ACT, and then of course you'll want your total. You're going to have labor and supervision. You will have setup and facility costs. These are the activities. You'll have utilities, and that will give you your total cost. And then you're going to have number of testing hours, because that's kind of what we're looking at in this problem. And then you're going to have your cost per testing hour. Then you're going to have your markup. And from that, you'll get your billing rate per testing hour. Okay, so again, just up here in these activities, and I think I gave you an example of how to calculate these. And then your testing hours is 60,000 for HTT. This is in the problem, just trying to help you get started. And then 40,000 in ACT. Okay, so again, that'll help you with the homework. I did post some other examples up there for you. And I'm going to post another video here in just a minute and talk to you a little bit about the class in general and also about the final quiz that you have. Thank you.